Hi, how are you? Um, the conference has been great so far. Thank you, Gosia, for reading the title properly. And in case you were wondering what the title means, well, it's structured this way for two reasons. The first reason is I'm totally useless at inventing titles. And the second thing is I wanted to have design, strategy, and content in one sentence. Because I want to tell you how to use content strategy tools and deliverables, something tangible, to bring value to your team and to your product. Yeah, why? Why would you actually even try to adopt I don't know, systemic approach towards content, and especially that type of content that lives inside user interface? Because of money. We all love money as businesses, right? Because that's how we make a living, right? But apart from money, or to support that we save or earn money doing our work, we can increase the speed of the team, how things get created and developed and shipped. We can increase the speed of our work, and we can increase the speed of our users when they perform their tasks. Obviously, that translates when you have system and systemic approach and take care of consistency and clarity, you get quality. And of course, good quality products are more likable by the audience. So I want to take you through several stages of organization maturation towards content and how they perceive content within their own processes, culture, and teams. So, and how you can bring value, real measurable value, to the team and to product development itself. So the first stage is everybody writes. There are no writers. Developers write system messages because system is theirs. Accountants write pricing messages because it's about money. Product managers write all the remaining text because nobody else wanted it to write. And then comes marketing and they say, we need more content, put it somewhere. So that's basically ends up in something like this, which is more or less no quality at all, because something is definitely wrong with processes in that company. So this may last for some time, but one morning someone high up wakes up and thinks, our competition is doing better. People understand their products. People make noise on social media that they like what they say. So they want to get somewhere else with their products and with their communication. And they start thinking, maybe we should have that one single person who would take care of writing. And they hire a writer. And let's say it's one of you. So when you join that team, what do you do first? You onboard yourself. And what I mean by that is, because you aim to be very close to the design team and to the business part of the product development, you probably would like to get as close to their ideas, to their analysis, to their research as they did before. So if you can, if it exists, get your hands on all the business analysis. If they have customer journeys, analyze them. See all the touch points, what's between, just to get the idea where the product lives and how it lives in the world. If they have personas, take a look at them, start to like them. Imagine them in the customer journey, etc., etc. If they have recordings or summaries from user testing sessions, then go through that. If you have access to customer support chats or at customer support at all, talk to them. Try to see where the pain points are. What are the real tasks that people do? And then, before you get your hands on the keyboard, find the right words, learn even more, because that part of the research is most common, right? Journeys, personas, research. Does anybody research language people use? Not entirely, not everywhere. If they didn't have anybody dedicated to communication, they probably didn't. So you need to do the hard job. Go to Google Trends and see if you're creating, for example, something related to sending messages. Check which is the most searched term. Is it a campaign? Is it a newsletter? Is it a message? Or is it something like broadcast? If you have access to Google AdWords, then use the keyword planner to see the related searches, to get your idea on the mindset of people on the other side, on the other end of the cable. If you can, go to different dedicated Facebook groups or forums to see what language people use describing their problems and solutions, just to be as close to them as before. We heard that also in the presentation about the plain language. Just get into the head of the user and think in the language they use. And then just write, because you are hired to provide awesome UI text, right? So without anything, just keep writing, okay? But at the same time, keep checking what they've already produced, right? Audit and content inventories are very common strategy tools. They are not, in case of user interfaces, the audit is not as trivial as in websites, because it doesn't boil down to just crawling a website and collecting 5,000, 10,000, hundreds, whatever, a number of URLs and the quality of content there, because UIs are complex, some things are visible, some are not, blah, blah, blah. So you need to go area by area, product area by product area, checking what's already there and marking the quality, finding the pain points, inconsistencies and stuff like that, so that you're able to later fix those problems and talk about those problems, because maybe not everybody acknowledge those problems exist. And then, when they find out in the company that there is a person who can write, who takes care of all the writing in the interface, they will keep coming. They will want you to write every single thing, even the marketing thing, despite the fact that there's a marketing team. What do you do then? Keep on writing. Just keep shoving the text into the repository, because that's why you are there. But apart from that, keep on doing the good job, the strategic base, voice and tone, right? I can't imagine starting working on a project without either having that defined by someone else or defining that myself. What is the voice? What is the character? What is the main characteristic of the brand of the product? What are the boundaries? Am I funny? So if I'm allowed to be funny, how funny can I be? Because, you know, don't get me started on the funny thing, because we can talk about it later. But you need some framework for yourself, some boundaries. And if you're going to transgress them, you will do that consciously, and you will be able to explain your decisions later. This is a fragment from Shopify's design system called Polaris, where that's one piece of their voice definition, that they are transparent, but obviously not naive, not blunt. But this gives you some idea what you can already do, and how honest can you be with the people. Then, having decided tone and voice, work on the style guide, codify it even more. And the style guide needs to be, is your primary point of reference, because you're the only one creating communication, but it's also something that you need to communicate further to other teams, so that they understand why you're doing things, why you're doing things in an organized way, why you start talking about consistency and quality. And by the way, here I've noted several of the key values you can bring to each team and each project by doing what? So style guide obviously will increase the speed, because you won't need to spend some time thinking about some ideas, because they are already there. And obviously that's all mostly quality, so it will be repeated there. And then something that you've heard before, Marta's and Wojciech's presentation, product dictionary. That's on the one hand thing that serves you to, where you systemize and codify and say this thing is called that, this thing is called that, this noun is this feature, this verb is this action. So this helps anybody who writes, this helps anybody who talks about the product. This also will be a good entry point for localization team or whoever takes care of that to create terminology, which is Wojciech and Marta, they explained why it's so important. If you have the terms, you don't need to invent one after another, so that obviously increases your speed. And then there's the next stage. You start thinking, talking, and using patterns. Because you've already created a large amount of UI text, you've already defined the systematic background and cornerstones of your writing, communication to people. So you start thinking in patterns. So what do you do next? Keep going. Obviously, writing is the one thing, but then keep adding more of the stuff that will help the teams create components or whatever they develop faster. For example, content types. You can call them templates. It's the easiest word and the most easy to understand for everybody else. So if there's a, for example, confirmation, and you'll do a lot of that, so you can define, we communicate it in this way, that we ask a question, if there's need, we ask for, give some explanation, and then we present it that way. So these are the examples conforming to the model, answer to the question or not. You define that, it's easier for you to come up with a new similar text in next projects. But also, if the team is clever enough, they can take them and already work or do the part of the work without you. So if it's not enough, obviously it isn't, then create pattern library. Okay, this is the real pattern library. It doesn't have to be as beautiful as Shopify's, because, you know, whenever all the companies put their design system online, they're beautiful, sweet. Obviously they make sense, but they are designed very well. you don't have to do that. That's just a wiki page where you put all the patterns. If there are confirmation in some, for example, this one is about confirmations in temporary bubbles. So you give them what goes, how to build that. You give examples. Next time, developers or whoever, or product owners working on stories, for example, if you're an agile team, they will be able to create them themselves. They won't need to come to you. They will create faster. They will have prototypes faster. User experience designers, they will create their wireframes faster because they will already either use a pattern or create something based on the schema you presented. And then, after having done all that and making yourself visible, it's time to make things official. You've moved, you've lived together. Let's make it a process. Let's guarantee that you have your own place in design or software creation process in that given company. Why? So that, yeah, why? You get the idea now? Why would you be part of the process? You know, because that talk, I had the idea for this talk is the effect of 3 different points of view that I often hear at different events. One is the UX designers who say, oh, the proliferation of the UX industry, UX researchers, UX writers, UX coffee makers, whatever. We are all designers, blah, 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 right? And then there's another group of UX designers, mostly senior ones or UX team leads who come and say, Wojtek, we don't know how to do content. Help us. What do we do? Do we need anybody? What competencies do we need? And then there's a perspective of content people. How do I make myself visible? How do I make sure I'm not at the end of the food chain? Blah, blah. We've talked about it during the networking, blah, blah, blah. So process is something that will make your position permanent. So apart from speeding up everybody's work, apart from making sure the communication in the interface is good quality, so you want to keep going, right? So you want to make sure that whenever new features or new projects, new even, I don't know, branches of the product are created, so that they don't destroy what we've already, or it's not lost, what we've already done. And that translates into something weird. And that will be the most lame slide you'll see at this conference, I guess. The corporate culture, really. So it's something like, it's not just about processes, where some people feel more or less comfortable with them. Or it's just a way of thinking and understanding, okay, if he's talking that content or messages or this piece of language is so important, crucial, yeah, we understand because we already know that thanks to all the work he's done, or she, it somehow works. Because quality of content, consistency, translates directly to support calls. They get, the numbers decrease. Customer support can concentrate on much more challenging tasks, customer problems. The product, people understand more and more what's going on in the product. Because the right names are there, because the right amount of explanation is there. And that's your job, right? You did that. You helped them arrive at this. So when there's this corporate culture, not even processes, something created ad hoc, but that's kind of mindset, around entire organization, then that's for now, the final stage of organization maturation, the bliss. You're in heaven. They want to talk to you. They value your work. They come and ask for more. Or they don't want content sometimes. They will say, well, that content team approved that we want to have heading here, right? So it's the stage because a person also matures. So you obviously all know the term pixel perfect, right? Is that pixel next to the right pixel and that box, are they aligned, blah, blah, blah. Am I beautiful enough, right, for this first date? But what's inside? The message, right? So that's the two. You're beautiful inside and outside, and that's the final step. Actually, probably not, because when more companies reach that stage, something else will happen. We've gone through waterfall to agile to lean, whatever. Methodologies change, business changes. So who knows? I wish you were all there soon. Take care of your content perfect processes. And thank you. Feel free to reach out to me later if something is not enough. And by the way, I'm hiring, so perhaps... give me a shout.
Who are you looking for?
I'm looking for a technical writer who will also take part in user interface creation.
Is it Tri-City?
It's in Gdańsk, yes.
Anyone? CVs ready here? Okay, thank you, Wojciech. Guys, do you have questions? Yes, we have questions. There is one here.
No.
It was right there. Yeah.
Hi, happy GDPR day. So since it's on my mind and in the breaks I have to make sure terms of use go out and stuff like that, I wanted to ask you if you have any tips on how to make legal texts better for users, because I don't really have control over the process of how they're created in my company specifically, and as Rahel I'm sure knows, making lawyers write well is very difficult. So are there any ways for a UX writer or technical writer to improve legal documents without actually getting lawyers who bill you by the hour?
Actually, there is. Although, it's not easy. Plain language, short sentences, all the things that you heard about simplifying and making text digestible by people, but also by machines, this is tightly tied together. And plain language obviously is not that easy for lawyers to accept, especially that somehow, as we heard yesterday, when you translate a legal formula into a plain sentence, it somehow turns out that it doesn't say what it was supposed to say, right? So, yeah, but I think that's the only way you can deal with legal text. Plain language, short sentences, simple wording, just to make sure people are able to go through the text quickly and understand enough to be sure they didn't accept something weird.
Yeah, but how do you get lawyers to write like that?
How do I what?
How do you get lawyers to write like that?
You edit them.
But the problem with GDPR is that most companies, I think, are afraid to surrender legal text to non-lawyers because it raises the risk of not being compliant. So how do you make that happen?
For me, that's the greatest thing of being agile, working in iterations. So let them have the first version the way they want, so that 25th of May and those empty chairs could be filled by people if they weren't doing editing of that legal text, right? So, so let them have the first version their way, and then iterate. Maybe not entirely. I know that you're perfectionist anonymous, so you would have to get perfect in small steps.
Cool, thank you. That gives me hope.
There's hope.
Anyone else? Okay. Thank you, Wojciech. Thank you so much for sharing.